Welcome back, entomologists, to the second part of our Bugs and Disease series. Last time, we left off with the fact that Luke Pryor Blackburn had fled the United States after trying to enact bioterrorism with yellow fever during the Civil War. He was given the cheery nickname of Dr. Black Vomit after this, a reference to one of the symptoms of yellow fever. He sent a letter to President Johnson begging to be allowed to return to work on a malaria outbreak in the South. When Johnson never responded, Blackburn went anyway. After the malaria outbreak, he worked to fight cholera in Louisville. He fought for better disease prevention tactics, and in 1878 he started to run for governor to bolster public health legislation. Ironic, seeing as he tried to start his own public health crisis. That same year, there was a yellow fever outbreak in the South, and Louisville started accepting refugees as it was thought yellow fever couldn't survive this far north. Blackburn then halted his campaign to aid in the outbreak. It was only a month later that Hickman, Kentucky had a terrible outbreak, leading to 20% of the town contracting yellow fever. This was great PR, and the attempted bioterrorist was rebranded as the hero of Hickman and later became the 28th governor of Kentucky. That is one doozy of a story. At the beginning of the 20th century, we figured out that the vector for malaria and yellow fever were mosquitoes. Doctors at the time suggested a shot of whiskey or scotch and puffs on a cigar to deter mosquitoes. This was even recommended to children. In the middle of the century, the US decided that enough was enough and started a massive mosquito eradication program. This involved using DDT, Paris green, and diesel oil targeted from Florida to California. And now this is seen as a success, as there's about 2,000 cases of malaria reported in the US every year, and no more cases of yellow fever reported according to the CDC. However, there is one arthropod that is transmitting more diseases: ticks. Ticks are actually arachnids. They've got 8 legs and are more closely related to spiders than they are bugs. They lie in wait in grass, trees, and shrubs, and as animals pass by, they jump on for a ride. They can stay attached and drain the host of blood for 10 days until they are engorged and fall off. Now, ticks can carry a lot of diseases, and we have Anna here to tell us how UK is doing its best to track down tick disease in Kentucky.
I am a PhD student at University of Kentucky. I study ticks and tick-borne disease. My dissertation focuses mostly on distribution of the tick species and the pathogens that they might be carrying. We knew that we had tick-borne disease in Kentucky. We knew that it was increasing pretty drastically. I collect the ticks 2 different ways: active collection, active surveillance, where I'm going out into the woods or onto farms and collecting the ticks from the environment. And then we have a passive surveillance system set up where we receive ticks from veterinarians, doctors. The public has been really popular this year. So once the ticks come in, I identify them, mark where they came from, and then I have a select list of pathogens that I test for. It's a Dermacentor variabilis tick, American dog. What we would do is we would bisect this, so cut it in half, and then add some proteinase K and a buffer ATL with some little beads, and then we beat the tube in this machine that essentially shakes it. The beads will hit the tick and help kind of crush it up, and then we leave it to sit at a warm temperature overnight so that the soft tissue can kind of break down into the liquid buffer. This is the final stage of qPCR. So she's mixed all of the reagents, the DNA polymerase, pathogen-specific primers, and DNA into these tubes. Callie has mixed together our qPCR mix, and then now she is just transferring the liquid from the tube into the plate. The plate fits into our qPCR machine. Our positive control amplified, which means that our run worked. All of our other samples were negative, so none of these ticks were infected with Ehrlichia chapiensis. Kentucky has 3 tick-borne diseases that have the higher cases each year. So the big one is spotted fever rickettsiosis, which includes any Rickettsia species infection, including Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is a pretty nasty one. In 2010, I think there were 6 cases reported and confirmed to the CDC from the state of Kentucky. And in 2019, there were 347. So it's a 5,000% increase. Ehrlichiosis is another one. Ehrlichiosis had, I think, 10 cases in 2010, and it jumped to a little over 100 in 2019. And then Lyme disease, of course, is what everybody's really concerned about. So I tested for that as well. And that was 5 cases in 2010 to I think 22 in 2019. In the Northeast and the upper Midwest, it's really, really common. You can look at Lyme disease maps and the whole Northeast is just covered with little dots because the cases are so prevalent up there. But then as you go south and west, you kind of see it die out. And it's not that it's not here. There are a lot of factors affecting diagnosis and reporting of Lyme disease. It can be tricky to catch in people. In 2019, there were like 50,000 cases of tick-borne disease, 34,000 were Lyme. So it's a huge, huge majority of the tick-borne cases we see in the United States, and it's emerging. It's not that it doesn't exist, it's just it's not as prevalent. And so it's probably not in the mind of physicians as often as it would be if we were in the Northeast. But the thing with Lyme disease is that it's increasing. It's the most common tick-borne disease reported in the United States each year. So one of the things with ticks that they need to survive and do really well is humidity, which is why Kentucky is so ticky. As you go out west, it's a drier climate. They do have ticks out there, but they're not quite as abundant. So the most common tick species that we have in Kentucky is the Lone Star tick, Amblyomma americanum, and they are just nasty little guys. Out of the over 10,000 ticks that I've processed, over 8,000 are Lone Star. They become active, March, and will stay active. I've collected them as late as November. They're active questers, and so once they sense a host, they will run after it, whereas most other tick species will just kind of wait for you to get close enough to them.
Big thanks to Anna and Callie for the help. To avoid getting insect-borne diseases, it's best to have an understanding of integrated pest management so we can lessen the spread. A good first step is treating your skin and clothes with insect repellent. Products like DEET, picaridin, and oil of lemon eucalyptus can make you seem less delicious to mosquitoes and ticks. You can also target particularly bug-infested areas with sprays to plants and turf. You can find more info on that through our extension fact sheet page. Look for ENT Fact 005 or in the description below. The best way to prevent contact with bugs that may have diseases is to avoid contact. Stay in the center of maintained trails and keep your property tidy to avoid bugs. Using natural predators can help lower pest populations. Remember that before you kill a spider. Luckily, we are living in the best time to avoid these insect-borne diseases. Just remember these facts to help prevent the bites. Thank you all so very much for watching. We'll have another video up like this next Wednesday. If you're bugging for more content, make sure to check out our other social media pages. But until then, what do you get when you mix ants and ticks? You get antics. Thank you very much.